Yeah, in the second half, I think sometimes we were bouncing balls that we shouldn't. And when you're an interior lineman or a tackle and your hands are inside and the ball is supposed to be an interior run or an interior draw and it bounces outside, then you're susceptible to more holding calls. And then when you're talking special teams, we just can't be grabby. When you're out on the perimeter, you have one person watching you, so you just can't be as grabby. You got to move your feet better. So I think a couple of those were not really as much on the guys who got the holding call, whereas they were on the guys who didn't hit the run where it was supposed to hit, which put the left tackle in a bad situation. And the other ones, we just got to move our feet.
You mentioned getting Jaden into a rhythm and failure to do so, especially in the second half. Obviously, circumstances with the weather played a big part in that. How important is it to get him in a rhythm early on in this upcoming game and to maintain that moving forward, especially against the better team?
Yeah, it's vital. I mean, that's something I firmly believe in, is getting quarterbacks in rhythm. So, I mean, we got to be able to get him in a rhythm, get him comfortable early. Huge.
Head Coach Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ, back here. Hey, Jalen Conyers was in street clothes in the second half. I don't think we asked about his status. Can you just give us an update on where he's at?
Yeah, he's fine. He was going to come back out and play, but the length of the break, when you get something stiff and then you break for 2 hours and 45 minutes, it makes it harder when you have those initial, wear and tear things to then return. So we made a decision to hold him because of that break. He stiffened up a little bit. So he'll be back. He'll be fine. There's really nothing wrong.
Chris, this is Brad. Yeah, Kenny, Chris Carmen, son of a source. Sort of somewhat related, two questions. One is, were there things when you watched the game back that you thought that maybe you would have seen differently had you been in the press box? And then the second part is, what did you learn from, there's not a lot of 2.5 hour delays at that time. What did you learn from that experience with this particular team?
Yeah. Well, yes, there were some things. We weren't getting the push crack to the field in some of our game. Should have been blocking some safeties, some of the looks that we didn't see. So we were actually running, not great plays at times, but they weren't by default. They were either a miscommunication of a signal, which is why we weren't getting something. So we got to clean that up, which we will. We've talked to the guys about. And then in terms of what we learned about a break is, we had guys doing homework at halftime because they had assignments due, and they were banking on doing it in the morning. So it's all right. Make sure that everybody has all their homework done for the next day. I know it sounds like stupid little things. That's one thing, but we have guys who have homework assignments due at noon the next day, at 1 the next day, that they were going to do in the morning. And then now we've been up there for 2 hours and they bust out their computer because we don't know what's going to happen. So that'd be one thing, is learning experience for me, is to make sure every homework assignment is complete on a midweek game, on a Thursday game, just in case you get a delay and they have to turn something in Friday. Because normally that doesn't happen. Normally you have all your homework complete Thursday for a game on Saturday because you do it before you travel Friday. But I never thought about that on a Thursday game in terms of delays. So that's a learning experience for me. And then I think we got the guys, or I got the guys, overly hyped for the second half. I think I was so concerned that we would have a lack of energy that I probably overly energized them, and that's on me as well. And that probably is why we had more penalties in the second half, is we were a little more energy than substance on one side of the ball. I thought the defense, kept their focus, but I think the offense, we had a little more energy than true substance. And part of that is the situation we're playing in as well, the weather. But I think those are the things that I had to, that I could do better at, reflecting on myself.
Hey, Kenny, Brad Denny, 3TV, CBS 5. After looking at the film, what's your evaluation of how the offensive line kind of played overall as a group? And then also, where do you see kind of the battle at left tackle right now after one game?
Yeah, I see things kind of, trending the same direction, but the battle is still continuing. I thought the O-line did a really good job in pass protection. I thought up front, I thought we scared them a little bit. They were a big movement and twist team, and we scared them a little bit off firing off the ball because we wanted to play movement and twist well. But I think in hindsight, if we could go back, playing week 1 games, you never quite know what you're going to get. So we would be a little more aggressive up front, creating vertical movement, because we didn't really create a lot of that until later in the game. So I think that would be something that's their challenge this week, is getting more vertical movement, and that's not on them. That's on me.
Coach Scott Sanduli, Devil's Digest. Considering the circumstances of the game and the delay in Southern Utah coming back in the second half, are you proud of the resiliency of the team to be able to close out a game with such weird circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to get the job done. You know, we got a punt blocked. Not a good situation. We're up 10 points, right? We get a punt blocked. Well, our defense gets 2 3-and-outs to win the football game. Our offense, who was struggling mightily in the entire second half, gets the ball back with a little over 4 minutes-ish left, and we run the game and we end the game. So I think for those guys to end the game with a successful 4-minute drill, for the defense to end the game with 2 3-and-outs through all the adversity, it shows that we have, you know, we didn't completely crumble in those moments, that we did finish the job. And there's a lot of teams every week, happened this last week, that couldn't get the job done in some situations like that.
Kenny, Colin Harmon, ABC 15. Oklahoma State's had such certainty at the quarterback position for so many years going into this year. But when you watch, they play 3 guys on Saturday, obviously. I mean, what did you see from all of those guys, and how does that work with, you know, game planning for a specific guy and getting ready for them?
Yeah, I think they're all 3 somewhat similar players. I think they're just trying to figure out, they have 30 new scholarship players, and I think they're trying to figure out who can do what with the live bullets. And you can say practice is going to simulate that, but there's a reason veteran quarterbacks have success. There's a reason year 2 of starting quarterbacks, the jump is so drastic. So I think part of that is them trying to figure out their own roster. And I think the only way you can do that is to practice multiple players in a game. So I think that's just, you know, Coach Gundy being I believe a 19-year vet, knowing how to win football games, knowing what's needed to be done down the road to win football games, and putting his team in the best position to win football games in the future.
Kenny, Chris again. What did you notice about Oklahoma State's defense, either scheme or personnel?
Yeah, they're big. They're extremely big. When you talk up front, I mean, their average weight is 290 pounds roughly, with the 3 down linemen. So they're very, very big. Their safeties, obviously, they're a monster defense, or whatever you want to call it, 3 high safety defense. So they play with 2 safeties and a quote-unquote monster linebacker, and they remove their mic from the field and put them back at 8 yards to 12 yards, depending on the call. So they have 3 guys that are like big jumbo athlete safeties back there, and then longer corners. So big, long, physical team. That's how you could play them on defense. On offense, their interior guys are big. They want to run the football. There's an emphasis on that. You can see the difference from last year to this year, that they want to run the football, being more 12 personnel. They recruited more tight ends in the transfer portal, so it shows up. And then they want to get you in tempo calls, and they want to ISO a player to the field in one-on-ones and FIB formations, trying to create those one-on-ones. Yeah, I thought our defense played well in the football game. I thought they were really resilient. Like I said, the first half, other than that penalty, we were really, really clean in terms of getting off the field. Few miscommunication errors that we got to clean up, and they converted 3rd downs because of it. But other than that, I thought our defense played pretty solid. We made an adjustment midway through the game, and we didn't quite get it accomplished, which is a good learning experience for us. That, okay, we made an adjustment, and we're now out on the field. Right, we now have to make the adjustment on the field that we made on the sideline, which that adjustment was made during the halftime. So maybe we re-go through it multiple times during that period of time, which is a little bit unique. But no, in terms of matchup versus them, I feel like our D-line is talented and athletic, and they're big. So it's going to be a battle of, can we hold up front? And can we create enough chaos inside to prevent them from running the football? And I think that's going to be one of the keys of the game.
Kenny, Luke Litton here with 12 Sports. I'm curious, how much better of an understanding do you think you have of your roster after facing an opponent other than yourself after week 1? I know it's a small sample size, but...
A little bit, to say a lot. No, but you could see the guys trying. You could see a little bit of, okay, something bad happened, and there's, 30 guys that, ugh. And then you could see the guys who something bad happened. They're like, oh, we got you. like different mindsets, and we got to get everybody with that second mindset in the game. And then in game, you can just see guys that sometimes people get too aggressive. So it's really monitoring, how to motivate in the balance of your team. Some guys you got to get them hyped up, and some guys you got to slow them down. So I think we did learn a little bit on, the demeanor that some of these players need to have going into a game. And I think that game actually was a great opportunity for us to learn different demeanors, because we had two completely different demeanors coming out of half and coming into the game. So it was really good learning experience for us and myself.
Coach Scott again. After seeing what the Pac-12 did as a whole this week, not a single team in the conference lost a game, does that kind of put pressure on the team to kind of keep carrying the torch this weekend against Oklahoma State?
No. I mean, we want to win every week. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. I literally could care less what any other team in the country does ever. Like, I am 1,000% concerned about us winning football games, but more importantly, playing to our ability, because that's the number one goal.
Hey, Coach. Noah Furtado, Son of a Source. How confident are you? Obviously, you played more than 5 offensive linemen in this last game as the game progressed. How confident are you in the communication up front, especially going up against a defense like this that can show and be willing to send any one of those 3 linebackers on different blitzes or stunts and things of that nature?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge, but I think we have to do schematically, we have to keep it simple enough for them to know who's on who every snap. I think they do a really good job disguising looks. They do a really good job not tipping looks. They do a good job bringing pressure from all over. So we have to be very, very sound schematically to not confuse our players and not push too much on them, but also put enough on them that we can create some leverages in the run game and get players to grass, whether that's creating fib formations or whatever that is, similar to what they do offensively.
Coach Ben Paris, Cronkite Sports. Do you think there's any added value to the game this weekend since it could be a conference game going forward?
No. Once again, every game's a game. We're going to take every game the exact same every week. None of the other outside stuff matters. Nothing else that matters. But us being better every day and us going to play our best brand of football on Saturday.
What are the keys to Jaden being successful against the type of looks that you're describing there defensively?
Film study. I think they're going to do something that they've shown at one point in their career, right? We only have one game. So you have a freshman quarterback who has one game to watch, and then he gets to watch, film from his last school, and you get to watch 12 games of different people. And I think that's the challenge when you play new coordinators early in years is you're watching different people run the scheme. Well, how much is he running this scheme because the people he has at his last school and the schemes he's facing at his last school versus how much is he going to change at this new school? So I think for us, it's for Jaden has to know, and all of our quarterbacks have to know what he wants to be, has to know what his answers are to problems. So if you don't have to master them all, but you have to have a very good clue on this is his answer. If we're beating him with this, this is his answer to stop that. This is his answer to stop that. So when we go on the sideline and they say, hey, they're counterpunching with this, it's something that you at least can go back into your memory bank and be like, oh, yeah, I watched that. That was week 2 of last year for him. Right, I remember that clip now. Okay, that makes sense. We're going to counterpunch with this then. So I think it's his confidence in what he knows through the work of the film study. And that's with a lot of guys specifically on offense this week because the variety of looks and the uniqueness. This defense hasn't hit the Pac-12. That's the reality, is this defense isn't in the Pac-12. This defense is in the Big 12. I don't even know if I can't even process. I never faced it in any other league other than the Big 12. So this is a predominantly Big 12 and the American Conference defense. I faced it in the American too. So those are the only 2 leagues that really run this. And if you can't simulate it until you play it in game week, it's like triple option. So it is very difficult from that standpoint.
Does it make it tougher to build a game plan, especially so early in the season?
100%. You don't have a lot of film to go off of, so you don't know how he's going to use his specific players that are different. And that always makes it a challenge. You're facing a new style of scheme He does a really good job. You combine that with new players, a new level, and there's a lot of middle ground. He didn't bring his entire staff with him. So you have the D-line coach may say, I want to coach this way. But his last D-line coach said, I want to be a switch hand guy. I want to switch my hands when I spike the front. This D-line coach may, no, we have the same stance every time. So you may have a tip on him at Gannon, but you don't have a tip on him here. So you really hurt you in creating some competitive advantages when you have those new staffs and you don't have with combining a new staff with an old staff fundamental teaching, you can't really put it all together to create as good of advantages as you would like in week 4, 5, 6, 7.
Kenny, what are these kind of big non-conference weeks like? I mean, the reality is Oklahoma State is entirely different than a Southern Utah, even a Fresno State. So when you talk about kind of a messaging going into the week and harnessing the energy the proper way, as you talked about coming out of the second half of Southern Utah, I mean, what are these weeks like in a building when you're gearing up?
I mean, you guys are going to hate these answers I give, but it's literally, I only care about us. Like, I don't care about anybody else ever. It's not about anybody else. It's about our football team. We go out, we get better, we work, and we slowly grow, and we're a team that is a better Week 12 team than we are Week 1 team. That is the goal. That is the mission. Now, what it's like is, I think we may have set a record for students for a Week 1 opponent or something like that. I don't know exactly, but we had 14,000 or something students show up. Can we sell this place out? Can we create a home field advantage? Because that's what this is really about, is we have a chance to play a game, and it could be 102 degrees. We could kick off at 7. We could have 14,000 students. We could sell out, and we could really, really create a competitive advantage for our guys. And I think people underestimate the value of that. So I think that's what these big non-conference games really show up, is people get to come watch a team that they don't get to normally watch play, right? Coming to you, let's get everybody in this city, everybody in the valley out to the game, and let's have an unbelievable atmosphere for our players.
Kenny, Jonah Krell, Cronkite Sports. After last week's game, what was the adjustment like for you coaching-wise? Because, before you were just looking at yourself, but now you have to evaluate your coaches and yourself. So what was that like, that process for you?
Yeah, you just watch more film. I mean, to be honest, you watch more tape and we go through, okay, well, what happened on punt? How can we get better? What's the detail? Okay, can we widen this guy out? Can we tighten him? Whatever that detail is. All football is, it doesn't matter if you coach offense, defense, or special teams. You have 11 people on the field. There's always gaps. People are finding ways to get into gaps or prevent people from getting to gaps, which all that is leverage. So offense and defense is naturally just fighting leverages. Same thing you're doing on special teams. You're just naturally fighting leverages, and you're trying to get angles to create blocks, or you're trying to get bad angles to be blocked. So it's really the same game, just flipped. So you just watch it from the other perspective and say, okay, well, I wouldn't want to run this play versus this. It's a good call. All right, well, I would want to run this play versus this. What are we going to do when teams are doing this? What's going to be our answer? So I think for me, it's more just watching more film, and then mid-game, obviously managing the situation at the end of the half. Do we have enough time to throw the ball with 5 seconds left? Do we want to go for a 4th and 8, or do we want to punt the ball there? Right, all of those situations. Can we end the half with the ball? Starting in a 4-minute drill with 4 minutes left to go in the second quarter, can we make this the last possession of the half? All of those things you manage more, but I usually manage those, and when you're an offense coordinator, you manage that more. So that wasn't as new.
I just wanted to specifically ask about Colin Oliver. In this particular scheme, it seems like he's trying to transition to a different role, being an offline linebacker. I'm curious, from your perspective, how does that change him as a player? Does it make him more dangerous, or how does that, from your perspective, change how you would game plan him? Otherwise, if he would be on the line as like a stand-up edge rusher. Yeah,
I think that's the question mark. Is last year he brought a lot of blitz from the boundary, which if you're bringing a lot of blitz from the boundary, you want to, that position is a hybrid linebacker defensive end. In his last game, he did not. But why would you move a defensive end to linebacker if you're a blitz to the boundary team and not blitz them from the boundary in week 1? Maybe you don't want to show it. Those are the ghosts that you got to chase of Did he play as much pressure, boundary pressure like he did at Gannon? No. Is he going to? Yes. Like, let's just be honest, because he moved a defensive end back, an athletic defensive end back. So I think you have to be able to read between some of the tea leaves to understand why they're making these moves, even if they didn't call it in week one. And that's where the challenge comes in. Like I said, early weeks, new coordinators, is you have to kind of not guess, but make really, really educated guesses on why they're moving certain people places and how those movements are going to affect how he calls a game. Because this game's about people. It's not about the scheme. It's about how you use the people in the scheme.
One of the biggest things you could change moving forward for this week to improve upon week one, what do you think that would be? I'm sure there are a multitude of things, but if you had to pick one major.
I think communicating, seeing signals from the sideline on offense, communicating the motions and the shifts on defense, getting in and out of different coverage calls. So 2 different types of communication. One is mid-play on defense, and the other is pre-snap on offense, but both communication issues. And for the most part, we played a clean game from a substitution, getting guys in the field and all that. But the communication pieces made us run about 7 to 10 dead plays in a football game. And when you're running 60-something snaps, and that percentage is a dead play, roughly, what is that, 16 to 18%, 17% is a dead play, right? You have no chance to be successful. And when it's a communication error, it's frustrating. And then defensively on key downs, communication errors waste first and second down. Third down communication error, you have 2 good downs. Who cares? It's first down. So you're really 0 for 3. So 4 communication errors on third down is 12 plays because you wasted first and second. So if we can clean up those 2 things in the football game, I think it'll be a lot cleaner.
I wanted to ask about the mentality of the team after they watched the film. I know in here after the game, they seemed like they were not overly happy with the win, like they knew how much work they had to do. So after watching the film with them, what was your sense on where they were?
Yeah, winning is not the goal, right? Winning is a byproduct, right? If you are the best you can be, right? Most games, when you have the talent to win the game, if you're the best you can be, you will win. It is a byproduct of putting in the work. So our guys, rightfully so, were frustrated with how we played in the second half. And I would be upset if they weren't rightfully so, frustrated. Now, does that mean it's hard to win in college football? People lose games they should win all the time. I was a part of a team that started 0-4 and lost to a school similar. Right? Now we responded the rest of the year, finished 5-3, and now they just beat LSU on the road. Right? That was a turning point for them. But the point is, winning is hard, and you should be excited about it, but you should never be satisfied if you don't play your best game. And I think you saw guys up here that were not satisfied. You saw guys watch the film and try to find their favorite mistake. That's what I always tell them. I always put my mistakes on the board. Like, we watch the tape as a full unit. We watch a few clips. I put up mistakes I made. Should have called a timeout 2 seconds sooner on the first down at the end of the half, so we would have had 7 seconds, not 5 seconds left. So that wasn't quite as tight. I was trying to run it down, but we got a penalty, learning experience. Play the penalty, the personal foul, into your clock management at the end of the first half to kill it, right? The adjustment we made, that we didn't get it communicated from the signaler to the field, I'll take that as a mistake. So find your favorite mistake and learn and grow from it. Don't watch the film to see you play well. That's a coward move. Watch the film to see your favorite mistake and grow.
I had one follow-up. Judging by a tweet I saw from Alford, he got the ruling and he is not going to be eligible to play this year.
That is accurate.
How disappointing is that? Because obviously he could have been a starter.
Yeah, very disappointing to have multiple guys on our team who didn't play football last year not be able to play again, who both battled things and not be able to play again. It's just ridiculous, in my opinion. And then there's other teams throughout the country who play guys who shouldn't be able to play. And it's just, I just don't understand it. But it is what it is. Thank you.